Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Dorothy Morgan, professional astrologer. We're going to talk about July 5th astrology. We have two very important things happening, as well as some other things. Number one, Mars ingress into the sign of Taurus means Mars leaving its rulership Aries, moving into the next zodiac sign for the next 7 weeks. I'm going to tell you what that means for all of us. And we also have Mercury leaving its rulership Gemini, moving into Cancer as well. All of this happens before the sun rises on July 5th. So Mercury in the sign of Cancer for 2 weeks, it is cruising along now. That's what happens when it's not retrograde. And what does that mean? Mercury in the sign of Cancer. The moon rules Cancer. So there's an awful lot of emotion and feelings that we already have a ton of that. Let's get started. Oh yeah, before I get started, for those of you who are new, we're going to do a roll of the dice from the Astro dice and at the end, and then we will also pull a card from here. Just give us a little more info, whatever spirit wants us to know. Right now, it's what does the astrology want us to know? I'm going to share my screen with you so you are able to see what I'm looking at. I love to teach. So I teach in this way. So here is the daily forecast for today, which is Tuesday, July 5th. Again, this happens in the middle of the night. This is Eastern Daylight Time. I'm not going to talk about house placements. I'm not going to talk about the ascendant and midheaven because all of those things are different for everybody. Not everybody lives on the East Coast of the United States. So I won't talk about that. However, at 2:04 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, at that moment in time, translate that to your time zone, Mars does enter the sign of Taurus. Here's what it looks like for where I live. Mars is going to be at 0 Taurus for everybody at that time. At that moment in time, it happens. You just have to do your own time zone. So what does this mean when Mars leaves Aries? Mars in Aries for the last 7 weeks or so has just been very dynamic, we can see the anger that comes up. And that's one of the negative connotations, if you will, of Mars and Aries. It's just like a lot of anger and a lot of fighting and a lot of action and movement and on both sides of that coin, right? Of that Mars and Aries energy. How are we skillfully using it and unskillfully? How are we using it for a cause? How are we using it for our own, what we want to fight for, what we feel is our rights? And there are many things to choose from in the world these days. Just here in the United States, there's so many things to choose from. Oh, Lord, that's Mars and Aries. But now that it's in the sign of Taurus, and it's going to stay in that sign of Taurus, let me look at my notes, until August 20th. So Mars still is Mars. Mars still represents movement and action and, be in finding initiation. And it has to do that now, not through the sign of Aries, has to do it through the sign that it's in. It has to do it in the sign of Taurus. So that means we can feel inspired to move towards and fight for what we value. All right. What we value, that's Taurus. Now we can initiate action in areas. So I would say initiate action too. We don't have to say fight for if you're not resonating with, I don't want to go fight for something, because some people don't. I get that. So instead of saying fight for what you love, what you value, what's important to you, this Mars moving into the sign of Taurus, again, staying there till August 20th, we all have an opportunity in our own way to initiate action in what it is that we love, we value, and we hold dear. Because Taurus is that. It's like how I use skills and talents to earn money. What is it that's important to me? Because what's important to me is very different than what's important to you. We all have our own lives, our own perspectives, our own natal charts. So Mars, wherever you hold your Taurus, I don't care if you use equal houses, whatever house system you use, Taurus begins somewhere. Find where that is for you and just know that sector, whether it's all in one house or in 2 different areas, just like it is here in this chart. Here, I'll show you what I mean. Let me get my drawing tool out. See, I like to teach while I talk. Here's where zero Taurus begins. And I could see this 24 degrees right there. So that's about where 30 degrees of Taurus is just for this chart. You'll find that for yourself. You'll find it for yourself and just see where that Taurus energy is, because it's going to be stirred up and initiated. It's going to be activated. Some people would say triggered. You know, again, triggered feels like a very emotional word, and it is for some people. And we do have to be initiated. We do have to be triggered or activated sometimes to actually take action. So Mars moving through the sign of Taurus over the next 6 weeks, seven weeks till August 20th, we have an opportunity to actually take charge, initiate new action and new intent in those areas that are important to us. And again, it varies from person to person. What I love, what I value, what's important to me. Maybe I want to create some sort of, what am I trying to say here? Just something for, I'm lost on my word. I was on a roll and boom, right out the window it went. If you're interested in, putting together something for a good cause, whatever it is that you want to do, this is important for you. So find out what, figure out what that is. Figure out what that is. It's different for everybody. You might want to do something to help the planet in your own way. Dig a garden. Go be an activist when it comes to GMO products, pesticides. I don't know. I'm coming up with stuff. You're the one who gets to decide how you want to use this, if you want to use it at all. When we get to the end of July, the last day of July, the first day of August, Mars, Uranus, and the North Node will all be at 18 degrees of Taurus. And so there'll be some very dynamic shifts going on. So we need to get started. That's my ascendant, 18 Taurus. Ooh-wee. And my Uranus is almost 18 Leo. I have Uranus and Mars North Node on my ascendant and square my Uranus and Pluto on my midheaven. I'm doing a few of these ahead. Hopefully life will be life. Life is lifey these days. So I take my breaks, and because there's an awful lot of tension and stress for everybody in, again, your own way. But with this energy of the Uranus, here it is, with the lunar North Node, and Mars is now in the neighborhood, right? He's in the neighborhood now that he's at 0 Taurus. So as soon as he gets into the sign that Uranus and the North Node are in, he's in the house. We're feeling it. So pay attention now. I'm not saying you have to be on high alert and anxiety. I'm not saying that, but I do think it's important as soon as a planet does come into a sign where we know it's going to be some big action soon. Like I said, August 1st on this one, we have, an opportunity between now and then for almost a full month to take our own initiative and step into what's important for you. All right. That went longer than I thought it would. The next aspect I wanted to talk about is Mercury has just left its own sign again, Gemini, and has moved into the sign of Cancer. It'll only spend 2 weeks in the sign of Cancer, a little over, just under 14 days. It is cruising along. This is Mercury. That's why when it's retrograde, we have so much time to look at things and process and analyze and evaluate. But now that Mercury is in the sign of Cancer, and when it's in Cancer, it's usually out of bounds, but it's not out of bounds yet. We'll go look at that in a second. But with Mercury at a 0 cardinal degree, that also means there is something that's being initiated, right? Those 0 cardinal points are initiation points. 0 Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So we need to pay attention to that. We'll talk about it again later in a few weeks when Jupiter retrogrades and goes back to 0 Aries. But in the meantime, right now, Moon is ruled by Cancer. The Moon, I said that, Mercury is ruled by Cancer. There, I just misspoke. Mercury is ruled by Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the Moon. So that tells me right now in this chart, they are both in mutual reception. And that is wonderful because now, excuse me, mosquitoes, mosquito bites. But now with Mercury in Cancer, the communication is very emotional and can feel dramatic, and it's family Cancer, and it's nurturing, and we need to connect when we have Mercury in Cancer, and which is the moon sign, and the moon is in Virgo, which belongs to Mercury. Even though they're not interacting with each other right now, at this moment in time, it just tells me that for the next 2 weeks, while Mercury does move through this sign, this emotional sign of Cancer, whatever is going on with the moon is going to be directly linked back to Mercury, meaning information, and information that we're receiving, what we're thinking, what we're processing, what we're, gobbling up, especially if we're doing too much news, too much social media. Make sure that you limit that, especially if you're feeling extra sensitive, because this is a very sensitive place for the moon to be, for Mercury to be. I have Mercury in Cancer. Let me tell you, I don't know. I can't wait to the end of the summer, not because I want the summer to hurry up, but I'm curious to see how this will play out, because with Uranus, it's always unpredictable. Let's see. Here's Mercury. Mercury, you know what? Mercury isn't going to go out of bounds that far. Here we are. Let's just go ahead, because we know he's only in there for 14 days. Yeah. No, he only pops out really quick. Not bad at all. Not this time. Not this time. So he's just going to pop out really quickly. Let's go back to that view. Here we are. So we don't have to be overly concerned with that. But again, since at the moment of Mercury's ingress into Cancer, and the moon being in the sign of Virgo, they're really holding hands. They've got like a direct line to each other. So that speed dial. We all know what that's like nowadays. We didn't used to have that for everything. But so we have this. So I want you to do your best when it comes to paying attention to how you're feeling and how you're communicating, how you're feeling. All of these things are so, so important, because we have the moon and Mercury so related during that ingress. So that's that's a lot for Tuesday, July 5th represents, but I did give us a lot more content, which will last for quite a few weeks too. All right. You ready for the Astro dice now? And for those of you who are new here, the way you can support is just comment, like, and share here on YouTube. And really share into the groups that mean something to you, if this content feels useful for you, right? If it resonates to you. And then you can come to Patreon and join one of the tiers there if you want to do, because I do a weekly forecast, and I do it a week ahead. Unlike these things that I do just the day before or the day of, you have not too much notice, but I like to live in the moment too. But in Patreon, which has a few different tiers, you can get the content like the month ahead. I'll be doing that in just a couple days, and that's for not the calendar month, but the astrological month. So we'll be talking about Leo, and I usually talk about a couple dozen different transits. It takes about an hour and a half, and then the weekly forecast, you get that just a week ahead of time, or 5 days ahead of time. So those are simple ways, or just come get a reading. Astro dice questions. What other content, what other info does Spirit want us to know for today? Mercury in Virgo in the 11th house. That's fantastic. Mercury, Virgo. Whoops, where'd it go? You know what Virgo looks like. I don't know if these are backwards or not. Virgo, and number 11 came up to the 11th house. What is that? That is Mercury in its own sign in Virgo. It rules Gemini and Virgo, and the 11th house. So this tells us that it might be important for us to find like-minded people and to get together with groups for support. The 11th house is about groups and like-minded people. It's also represents working for a cause, something that you really can get your heart behind. So Mercury in Virgo is the details of that. So focus on that. Maybe somebody needs to start a new group, or maybe you've been contemplating joining a group and you haven't done it yet. I know it's summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, but this might be a wonderful opportunity to connect with some like-minded people, whether it's you just want to join I like to walk the beach group, or a hiking group, or somebody who plays cribbage, any of those things, whatever those details are for you that makes sense to you. Or start it if you haven't been able to find anything like that. Some people aren't brave enough for those things. All right, what do the cards want us to know? Yeah, white buffalo. That's interesting. I was shuffling earlier before I even started, and I cut the deck on white buffalo, and I was wondering why. So that's interesting. So we'll have to, what does white buffalo mean? It's like about new opportunities. You know what? I'm going to grab this card too, and owl medicine. Oh, all these animals. Of course, there's a lot of animals here. Today, when I was out hiking, at a pond where I usually kayak at, it was just too windy when I decided to go to kayak today, because I don't know, I just didn't feel like fighting the wind, and so I decided to walk, because there's a nice walk around. It's about a mile. It doesn't go all the way around, but you just turn around and walk back anyway. So this pond, there's always plenty of fish and turtle and heron and all kinds of stuff, and I saw both. And then as I was walking, it was like this little, it's like this big. It's so tiny. It was a painted turtle. It had to have just hatched. It was walking towards the water. It had a long way to go considering its size. However, there was somebody with a dog that was just coming up behind me. So I actually did pick it up. I should have left it alone, and I moved it off. Anyways, I had to. I just didn't want somebody's dog, because people aren't always aware. So I just wanted to help it out. So beautiful. It was so nice I have a picture of it on my Facebook page, and especially the bottom of it. And you can, if you make the picture bigger, you could see this. He's got his eyes squinted and he's just looking down at me. He's like, oh my God, lady, put me down. But I really wanted to connect with that double nature. And the thing is too, is like, because, turtles can live in the water and they're terrestrial. And so I just thought that was a neat thing to see. And then the perspective, right? And then walking around the pond as opposed to being on the pond, I got another perspective. And so that's what nature showed me today. It's like we need to do our best to, we can still see things from our own point of view, but it's also important to see things from another perspective if you're capable of doing that. All right. So yeah, I'm looking it up. I'm looking in the book because I'm just drawing a blank because I'm tired. Abundance is abundance and security is flowing into your life. Balance and harmony prevails. I know when that white buffalo shows up, legend has it in native cultures that there would be a new world, a new reckoning, a new world will begin. And we are definitely, that started right around 2012 when white buffalo started being born out west. And I've looked this up, but the prophecy of that is that, we are in beginning times. However, things need to end and be released and let go of. And sometimes we have to be forced into letting go of things so something new can happen. And so instead of being forced into letting go of things, this is again why it's important for us, because of all these transits happening in nature and all of the things happening, is like, again, to create some space for you so you don't have to feel like a rug is being pulled out from under you anytime something needs to change. Uranus is asking, we need to stay flexible with that Uranian energy. And it's just strong. It's going to be strong. And when we get to the end of July, that's going to show up even more so. I think I'll stop right there. That's enough for today, guys. Please, thank you and thank you. Thank you so much for being here and supporting this channel. And I will see you next time. Blessings and namaste.